Screen share. Share.
There, you're
Hey
live.
guys, I'm live.
You're
Hey
live.
guys. So sorry, genius me thought it'd be a great idea to do a video export right before the stream started, and as you can see, it's not done yet. Resolve is saying I have under 3 minutes left, so give me a second. Once this is done, I'm going to mute my microphone, drag the laptop on over to the set, and get going. Is right now it's saving to an external drive, and I can't move the whole thing at once, or I'm going to unplug the drive. So really sorry about that, guys.
Yeah. Likely story.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Hey guys, how you doing tonight? Let's see, we got the handy outdoor nerd out here. How you doing? We've got JT in the house, and that looks like about it.
About it for now. So do you want to really quickly, while this is running through, give your little spiel about the new YouTube ad revenue rules, creators getting screwed over thing?
I'll be honest with you, I barely started learning about it just before we went to the movie theater tonight, and so I haven't had a chance to really sit down and read it. But all I've kind of caught is between you and Chris from Practical Printing. Both of them reached out to me and was telling me what's going on. It sounds to me like they've pretty much Adpocalypse was nothing compared to what they're getting ready to do now. Now it's called the YouTube Purge, apparently, because what they're doing is they're going to take everybody who is at less than 1,000 subscribers and has less than, was it 4,000 hours within 12 months in the as far as video views, and they're going to demonetize all those channels. So they pretty much are telling all the little people, thank you very much, we're going to go ahead and serve ads, but you're not going to get any of the money of it.
And the thing that frustrates me the most about it is the fact that my channel's been on YouTube for at least, before I even did Make It with Calvin, I think I have videos going back at least 4 years on there, if not more. And I've never had, when I say like an actual, there might be a few songs that have content that I don't get the ad revenue from, but YouTube hasn't pulled them, and the music license holder is fine with it. But if I look at my settings, I have no copyright strikes, no community strikes, nothing like that. And I've had zero problems. And just because of the fact that I've got about 1,750 viewing hours within the last year, and I checked, I'm going to get booted from monetization because of something that simple, which is frustrating, because only recently did I get Super Chat, which I'm probably going to lose because I'm going to lose the partner program and all that stuff. And, you know, I just hit 1,000. So it's kind of like I just hit the milestone to then get told, oh, nope, sorry, you're out, which is a huge letdown.
It is. And that's what's going to happen is a lot of creators who kind of squeaked by. This is going to be like the final nail in the coffin for them, where they're going to be like, you know what, I give up, and they're just going to walk away from it, which is very unfortunate because a lot of the channels I watch aren't even the really big channels. A lot of them are the smaller channels, like yours and several others. Practical Printing's one of them. That they're right on the cusp. They're coming up, and this is where those things were for the last. What have I heard for the last year? Subscriber count doesn't matter any. It's views. Well, in this case, they're making it where both of them matter. You have to have 1,000 subscribers, which you just barely got within the last month.
And it took a shout. It took Joe, the 3D Maker Noob, recently doing his giveaway to, when I say force people as an option, people had to subscribe to my channel. Then I went on Dustin's live stream about a couple of weeks after the Maker Faire, and that bumped me up a little bit, but I've been hovering around 500 to 700 for a while, and I'm going to go run to the set right now. So just give me a sec, guys. And get my nice mic plugged in.
So, I see Aunt Nancy's in the house. How you doing, Aunt Nancy? We have Practical Printing Chris. How you doing? As he says, YouTube killed the video star. That is exactly right.
Give me a second.
We have a Pyro Design. How you doing, Travis? Thank you for joining. Jeff, Print 3D channel. Thank you very much for joining.
Oh man,
wow,
we got
everybody in here now.
Sweet. Okay, I am now plugged in. I'm now going to stop the inception, and
now we just. Oh my god.
Sorry about that, guys. That was a really stupid move on my part to do the video export right before we went on, because when I started Hangouts, the export speed just went down the barrel.
I mean, you have one awesome laptop, but yeah. That was a stress test.
And then also having
it hot right now.
And then having to export it over USB to an external hard drive at that. That's definitely going to push it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If they demonetize you, are you going to keep making videos?
Heck yeah.
Good.
If for whatever reason I get it pulled, I mean, like I've said before, it took me over 3 years to earn $67 in revenue, and it wasn't until I got Super Chat, because it went over 1,000, and all of you guys who donated, huge thank you, that I finally went over the $100 threshold, and I hit, I believe it was 137-ish was my first payout, which was crazy. But it was, thanks to you guys who watched the videos, who donated, everything like that. But at the same time, I mean, there's paypal.me/makeitwithcalvin that you can donate to the channel directly to, which actually works out better because I do a lot of my ordering through eBay and Amazon, and I pay through PayPal, or I just deposit it into my bank account. So there's that, which at least I don't have to wait forever for it to build up and then pay out. But still, it's kind of a blow to somebody like me who's a college student who is living off savings right now, and doing the videos and the money that I get in is what helps fund them. Because otherwise I'm paying, I mean, I bought over $70 in foam out of pocket for the paddleboard project. I bought over $30 in resin just to get the paddleboard project started. I mean, these projects are not cheap,
All I can say is, if any of you are watching, if you have a favorite YouTube channel that you like to watch, that's a smaller channel that good and well that they're not getting the views or not, they don't have that 1,000 subscriber threshold, be sure to subscribe to them. Be sure to watch their videos. If you've got the bandwidth, if you've got whatever, set a cell phone to watch the videos. Main thing is in order to help these channels, you've really got to watch the videos, or at least have something watching the videos. That way that they can hopefully hit that 400 or 4,000 hour within 12 months. Now, like with Calvin, he's got 30 days to hit 4,000 hours, which I think you're sitting at 2,000 hours right now?
I'm sitting at approximately, I'm going to say 1,750. That's my estimate according to the math that I did. But yeah, I know I'm under 2,000, so I'm not even halfway there.
Yeah. And that's just, that's the part that just grinds me. It's like, I can understand the 1,000 subscriber threshold. I could understand that, but when it comes to the view count, that's the part that's like, really?
it irritates me and I misread it. So, my thing was, I misread it, and I thought it was you had to be either 1,000 or 4,000 hours watched. And I was doing the math, like, oh, that's 2 minutes of that's 1,200 people watching for 2 minutes a piece. Doesn't matter what it is. And you hit 4,000, views. So it's really, I was thinking it was either or, and it's like, oh, if you do a viral video, and even if people watch for a couple of minutes, it all averages out, and it can very quickly equal 4,000 hours. But, it was like, it's just, the whole thing is really, really irritating, because now it's like, well, remember with VidMe? Remember VidMe, the whole thing that died?
Yeah, that didn't last long, did it?
And I remember looking into getting monetized on there, and their requirements were you had to gain it's like Twitch. You have to meet really, really specific criteria. And if you didn't keep meeting the criteria,
bye-bye, you lost your monetization. And it's like, or you lost your preferred status. And it's just like, I don't know if I like that or not, because there's a lot of good people who do small content who don't get the perks of the bigger stuff because nobody knows about them. It's a very much a positive feedback loop that just gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on, which is a bummer.
Yeah. I see Chris noticed that I got a haircut. And he wants to know, how come you still look like a hippie?
Because I'm a hippie, dude. Deal with it.
Don't make me come up there with those clippers, man. We got to get you a haircut. We were supposed to do it when we went to Vegas, and for every excuse you use, we couldn't get there. Well, honestly, we were on the road. We were pushing it to get there and back.
we were, if anybody is asking, we literally, I mean, including probably getting food, we probably stopped no more than an hour and a half to 2 hours tops. Am I right?
Yeah, we didn't have any downtime. We literally would stop at a gas station. Some of us would run and use the restroom while others were pumping the gas.
We're all waddling in there with our stiff legs from sitting in the car. Then we waddle back to the car and just crawl in there and just go, step on it.
Practical Printing put it right. 4,000 hours equals 240,000 minutes, which equals 166.7 days of view time.
That is, I mean, that really puts it into perspective there, the kind of lunacy behind their thing. Now, if it was, say, like 1,000 hours of view time, because the original requirement, I looked it up, at least from the previous one, you had to have 10,000 views total on your channel before they'd even consider you for monetization. So even in my case, it took a while to finally hit that threshold where over all my videos, I finally hit that number. I forget what the requirements were when I did it, but it used to be almost nothing, and then it just got progressively more and more, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And Chris is taking off. Have a good one, Chris. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for jumping in with your useful data there, and definitely go check out Chris's channel, because he is also in my position of, if he can't gain a whole bunch of views very quickly, he's also losing monetization as well. And we're not trying to make this into a, you know, bass session per se, but we're only promoting, you know, mentioning the people that we know, just because we know they're definitely on the, you know, the cusp. And like Jimmy said, if we can't make it, we're going to be demonetized for however long it takes to hit that magical number. And if I don't hit that number within 30 days, effectively the counter resets to 0 as of January 1st. So then you're really royally screwed at that point.
The only thing that saved my neck was that hairy lion. That's the only thing that saved my neck.
That thing, seriously, to this day, there's times where Jimmy goes, oh, video's going viral again. My ad rev's going up, which is totally cool, because it's like it kind of dips, and then you'll see, like, on the 3D printing group, hey, look, it's a hairy lion. I'm like, yeah, that's Jimmy's video. Goes back up again, then it kind of, you know, levels out, and then somebody finds it and it goes back up. It's, you know, my problem is I've never had a video like that that went viral. I mean, probably the only ones that have, by my definition of going viral, would probably be the very first ever tiny house video that I did, and my 2 proto pasta polishing videos that I did eons ago, but those are over 2 years old, and they have no more than 3,000 to 4,000 views, but that's over such a long time period, it's negligible. I mean, I got views off of it, but it's not like I did a video that just went and blew up, you know.
Yeah. We need to print you a hairy lion.
We need a hairy Calvin. That's what we need.
We need a hairy Daniel Noré. Oh
gosh, you and your Daniel Noré. Oh
no.
Oh man,
I gotta quit doing it. I'll wait till he's in here.
I think he comes on because he's really wanting to see Jimmy go, oh, it's Daniel Halo. Oh, hi, Daniel. I didn't see you in the chat. Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't doing that.
Okay, well, we're 15 minutes into this, and we haven't even touched the subject we were supposed to talk about tonight. All this just kind of unfolded just, in the last 4 or 5 hours?
Pretty much it's unfolded within, I'll just say, the last 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
You know, if or so, because what happened is my friend Ashley over at Chip Builds sent me a message going, hey, did you hear about the new monetization rules? And I'm like, no, I haven't heard about them yet. And I'm like, give me a little bit, because I was doing some machining on some parts for Destin. And I'm looking at it going, at first I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good because I'm over the 1,000 subs. And then when I got the email from YouTube saying, sorry, you can't hit 4,000, views within the next 30 days. Bye, Felicia, for your monetization. And I'm going, so I reread it and I'm like, oh, it's not either or, it's both. Okay. Yeah, that's screwy. So I did, and I highly recommend that anybody who has a YouTube channel do this. I emailed their support and asked them why they were not being, fair to channels like me who had no strikes, no problems, nothing like that. Why they were not being fair to those channels and at least putting them in a probationary period where they manually reviewed them. And if they met the criteria, then they were able to continue on with monetization. I don't get why they're literally wiping everybody from square one. That to me is probably the most frustrating part, because there's tons of good channels out there that are small, have had 0 strikes, and yet they're the ones that are getting screwed because somebody else screwed up, if you know what I mean.
Well, the thing is, they're not even doing this because of, when it comes to people, all these companies leaving them when it comes to ads and all that. They're not doing it they're doing this as a money-saving issue, I think. I think what their whole thing is try to save money because they want to create a more stable revenue stream for the larger content creators, but they're doing it by sacrificing the up-and-coming channels, which is the part that I've got the problem with. I can see them saying, okay, well, we're going to give you a lower split because once you reach this level, then we'll make you a full partner. I can maybe understand that kind of thing. But they're doing it because they have lost the ad revenue to a certain extent because of the stupidity of some of the larger channels, mind you. It's not been because of the smaller channels. Now, yeah, there are some of the gaming channels and different ones like that where they get on there and they have their, oh my God, did you know what this one did? And they do all that kind of garbage and cuss and just carry on, in which case that creates a problem for people who have ads because they don't want to take and fund that kind of a thing. They want to fund normal everyday stuff. With that said, they're not going after those channels. They're going after the small guys and saying, okay, we're going to take and save our ad revenue. Because the thing is, good and well, even if they demonetize your videos, they're still going to play an ad before your video, and they're still going to play an ad after your video. And if it's a 10-minute video, they're still going to play an ad in the middle of your video.
And that's the thing that's annoying, is you can't just flat out opt out of ads, period. They will still run, like it or not, which is annoying to say the least, because it's not like you have the control to say, no, I really don't want ads on this video, period. But what are you going to do?
Okay, well, you want to get on to the subject at hand?
Oh, yeah. This one's going to be really, 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 really fun. Pretty much.
Screwdrivers.
Check it out. It's my open source. Opens up as well. Hex
That's not open source, so that company didn't release the files on that one yet.
I don't care. I'm still calling it open source, Jimmy, because that's what people have been pretty much doing at this point, which is the original topic of tonight's stream, was the fact that it seems like, and we're not going to name any names here, but you guys might kind of get what we're going at, but let me pull it out. Where'd it go?
Well, the thing is, there's been a lot of content creators, there's been a lot of companies that use the word open source in order to, it's become more of a catchphrase than it has practice. And that's kind of becoming an issue, because now everything is open source when it's really not open source. But they go and they use the word open source because that's what everybody kind of is into.
I mean, check it out. This is an open source soldering iron. You know, you can totally reprogram the thing, which you probably should not do, which is a bad idea. You know, you could totally reprogram the thing. You know, we might have some virus corrupted files somewhere on some really shady website that you can download. So, you know, you can totally like 3D print some more flammable parts for the thing or something, you know. But literally, people are trying to tell you that things like this, or screwdrivers, or pairs of scissors are, quote, open source. And I'm like, really? You know, it's like what Jimmy said. It's gone to the point where instead of being a business ethics philosophy way of doing things, wanting to freely share the information, I also have links in the description to like definitions of theoretically what they envisioned open source being was quite literally something that anybody could use without restrictions being placed on it by the software license holders. Now, your country might have rules regarding the use of it, which is different, but the person who created the software theoretically is not able to put, you know, like, quote, restrictions on it. But that's not what this is. People are pretty much just, it's kind of like a term that I learned in my environmental science class. It's like greenwashing. It's like saying, it's like putting the word green in something and everybody goes, oh, well, it says the word green in it, so it's got to be good for the environment. And it's like, no, it's not. But because people see a catchphrase that, or they see, oh, it's recycled content, but it's only like 1 or 2%, something that makes like absolutely no difference. But people see something that catches their eye and they go, oh, catchword must be good. It's a really shady way of trying to market things, really.
Well, it's just like one of the prime examples of open source. Okay, so before Joseph Prusa, there was the riprap printers. And let's face it, the open source printer at that time consisted of threaded rods at different angles to create this printer that people used up until Joseph Prusa came out with the i3 design. Now, mind you, this was before he had a company. This was before he started manufacturing printers. He designed this printer and he said, okay, here's the file. This is how I built it. You can use this part, this part, this part, this part. You can buy these parts wherever you want to buy them because it's open source. You can buy the parts, any part you want, put it together in this machine, and you have a printer. And that's, you know, that's where the open source came from, is you could source your parts any way you wanted to do it, put them together, and you have something.
And then the other thing was all the files to build it, all the drawings, the code, things like that was all available. Believe it or not, the Thing-O-Matic right here is an open source machine technically. When MakerBot made this, they went through so many running changes. It's absolutely crazy. And this is actually a good example of running changes. When I put the E3D in there and the custom extruder, and then I have the flex plate and I put the IBIS bushings in it. But this machine was technically open source back in the day before MakerBot. This one came out, and then they came out with the replicator, but there was a lot of community, you know, contributions to this for code and lots of things like that. So that's a good example of an open source product where somebody bought the machine, but then as a community, everybody was, you know, contributing code, trying things out. I mean, it was really interesting back in the day, and it really helped push 3D printers to where they are now with like my Ultimaker over there. It has a lot to thank from the Thing-O-Matic to get to where it's at now, if you ask me.
Well, it's just like if you go online, you look up a cookie recipe. Let's say for sugar cookies. That's open source because here's your plans. Here's the ingredient list. You go out and you buy the ingredients. You source it however you want to, but you buy whatever sugar you want to get, you buy whatever eggs you want to get, but you have your choice of how you do it. You put it all together, and it's going to taste the same no matter who makes it, because if you use the right amount of the ingredients, it works. Same way with 3D printers. You go and you get the right parts for it, you put together the right way, and it's more than likely going to work.
Well, like what White Tigress 18 just said, she goes, that's how advertising works. Hooking people with desired phrases that may technically be part of the product, but it's stretching the truth to a large degree. And that's totally true. I'm not saying that, you know, something that says it contains recycled content does not mean it does, or something that says it's a green product does not mean it contains something that's a greener chemical that's better than something else, but it does not mean that the whole product is better than its competitor in, you know, in terms of impact or overall quality or things like that. It's merely just a way of trying to get your attention. And if they get your attention, then they know they're more likely to get your money. But yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, the problem is people have now taken, I mean, I think Tom from Tom's 3D did a video where he ran around a trade show going, hi, you know, what's your take on open source? I personally have not seen the video yet, but I know he did it. And a lot of people were making comments like, oh my gosh, some companies get it. And some companies were literally saying, well, isn't it just kind of a marketing term? You know?
Yeah. Hey, Rover's a rebel, man. Look at this. Also add chocolate chips to it. Well, chocolate chips and sugar cookies. That actually tastes, that sounds kind of good right there.
Why do I see an episode idea coming? Oh, crap. No, but I mean, that's the beauty of it. That's a good example right there of the open source being, you can build it however you want. You can either go tit for tat on the plans and build it exactly how they say, or you could be like me as a kid with Legos and be like, the heck with this. I built what I wanted. I'm going to go grab some more Lego bits and build a whatever. You know,
now let's talk about what makes something open source, not open source. Now, let's say he goes and he adds in those chocolate chips, right? And he goes and he starts giving out these cookies or selling these cookies or whatever, and all, but he doesn't tell you that it's got chocolate chips in it. What's that? It tastes so good. You know, it's just kind of mixed in there. It gives it kind of a different color, but man, this really tastes good. Yeah, it's my secret ingredient. Now it's not open source no more. Same way with a 3D printer. They go and you have 3D printed parts for this 3D printer that you're going to build, right? But you do a little tweak in the design of it, but you don't share that tweak with anybody else. That's not open source anymore. Just like when you start getting into a screwdriver, yeah, you can more than likely grind down the piece of metal and make a flat tip to it. Now, how are we going to get that plastic handle on there to stick? What's inside there that makes it so that metal shaft doesn't move around inside that plastic? We can't see that, so we don't know. We don't know if it's flat in there somewhere. We don't know if there's edges on it somehow, if it's, you know, octagon shaped or however. We don't know. That's not open source no more.
No, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, don't get me wrong. When I say open source and closed source have been a blessing and a curse, I mean that in terms of, like anything, there's, you know, pros and cons to stuff. And there's always going to be people who abuse stuff no matter what form it's in. But at the same time, I kind of feel like, you know, if somebody wants to claim something as open source, they need to follow through with that ideology. Personally, I would rather see a company start closed source, then decide to go open source, then be open source and then go closed source. Because if you go if you go open to closed, people are going to be like, well, you just, you know, stole all of our ideas, made them your own, and thanks a lot for not giving us the credit, which is a very classic example of what happened with MakerBot. When they decided to go from an open source company to a closed source company, a lot of people felt like they got used by the company just for free labor, which may or may not have been true in their particular case, but they felt like as a community that they'd been betrayed because they had been used to promote and, you know, push and make a product really good. And then you're like, okay, thanks for all your help. You know, here's nothing in return. And then just like leave and walk out of the building. That's the way a lot of people felt about it. So there's still a lot of animosity between people on, is open source better or not? You know, that sort of thing.
I would prefer a company just make something that works. Whether it be closed source, open source, or whatever, that to me, that has become a gimmick. And they really should just kind of just drop it. Just go for what works. You know, and if they want to share how, let's say, what is it? Ultimaker, don't they have some of the files that are 3D printable?
They've got, here's a good example. I don't know if you guys have seen those brass parts that I've been machining, and I bring them on camera, but they're in the garage running in my parts tumbler right now. But those brass parts that I've been machining for Dustin, aka the Jatman, those are parts for an Ultimaker that I went on GitHub, downloaded the files for, did a few minor modifications to them, which I'm going to explain in a video in a couple of weeks, talking about why I, you know, added a fillet here, why I made a heatsink a little bit with the fins a little bit bigger here. But I was literally able to go on there and download the files for the machine and work on it, you know.
And they were files that Ultimaker put up to GitHub, right?
Correct. I was able to go on there and I was able to download the IGES file for it and stick it into Fusion and start working. You
know, if a company wishes to do that kind of a thing, that's more power to them. You know, that's great. But at the same time, just like with Ultimakers, though, let's face it, they just work.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest. This machine was the very first machine I ever bought, and a lot of people, including myself at the time, were going, "Oh my gosh, you spent that much money on a 3D printer?" But except for some minor upgrades that have now become standard, and I still need to install the geared extruder on the unit, and I've already got an Olsen block on it, and I have a slightly better PTFE insulator in there. But overall, and the BuildTak flex plate that I bought, but overall, that machine, you give it a print, it works. I mean, there are times where things will fail, but it's a case of ran out of filament or the print came off the bed, but it's not like it goes halfway through the print. The software just goes psycho and the machine tries to destroy itself. It just works. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's one printer I would wish I could afford to get.
Next time I go down there and we do some 3D printing, I think I'm going to throw it in the car with me just so you can check it out, because it is one heck of a machine. Literally, I can take this thing, throw it into my car, drive it 400 miles down to my parents' house, pull it out. Half the time I won't even re-level the bed. I'll just plug it in and start printing, and it just does not care.
Well, that's what I like about that design of a printer. Is like with my MeCreator 2, it's got that design to it, and it's just, they're rock solid. I mean, you don't have to worry about the bed getting out of level, or they're not touchy like that.
No, and the other advantage of it being almost fully enclosed is really, I do have plans to build a little cover and put a little thermostat unit in there to at least warm the build chamber up to, say, like 40, 50 degrees C. Keeping it at a constant temperature. I know it's not going to be crazy hot, but, you know, certain materials like PETG, ABS, nylon prefer a steady temperature. Then just put a little panel in the front and the thing's enclosed. You know, it's very nice in that department. But yeah, I mean, the Ultimaker is part of the reason why I bought it, was the fact that it was, I didn't really fully understand open source, but from what I knew, it was anything that spat out G code, it could work with. And the MakerBot, when I figured out that I was stuck using just their software, I'm like, I've been burned in the past, you know, trying to do things, you know, like a game or design software or something where you were locked into their ecosystem. And if it didn't work, well, tough luck. You're locked into their ecosystem. So what? You know?
And that's one thing I don't like, is that's one of the proprietary ends of stuff that I don't like, is when it comes to the software. And it's one thing if it works, but let's face it, a lot of the proprietary software that companies come out with, they have glitches that just don't let things work right.
I would not have any problems with proprietary software if it worked. If your software, if you're making me spend $100, or here's a really good example. I'm going to have to spend $76 to buy a physical math book for my math for business class I'm going to be taking. And it also includes an online code to use WebAssign, which is an online homework function that I've used in the past, which isn't very great. But because my poor instructor has eye problems now, she can't sit there for hours and manually grade homework. You know, I feel bad for her, but, you know, I've dealt with it, and there's been problems galore where the software will just randomly kick people out, even though they've done a code. Or in her case, she's still talking with the company to try and get them to remember that she needed, a section for Math 75, things like that. And it's like, you have very few options when it comes to doing things like that. And everybody is burned, the instructors, the students, and even kind of the company. It's a no-win. And it's really frustrating when it feels like if they're charging you so much for it and they're putting in supposedly so much R&D, why is it so crappy when I get it?
Right. Yeah, that's not good at all.
No. Although Jeff's Nerd Builds made a good point. He said, any, quote, hacking done to a printer is a good thing. It allows the tech to move forward and become better. That's why I'm happy for Prusa's open source idea. Yeah, it's definitely, a good concept. Now, I have not personally worked with any of the Prusa machines, but I will say that there is like one or two things that I definitely have an issue with on the new MK3S that came out the very, very latest machine. And one of them is the fact that he got rid of any kind of end stops on the machine, and he's literally relying on the machine jamming itself to figure out its home. I don't like that at all, to be perfectly honest. There's no kind of repeatability. There's no way for the machine to detect that, gee, I was theoretically, say, 300 millimeters out, and my stepper has driven over 600 millimeters, and my build volume is only 500, and it hasn't come home yet. I think we have a problem here, like, belt snapped or something like that. There's no way for the machine to accurately know off a repeatable location that it's hit something, which is also a problem after, say, a power outage. If the thing doesn't home properly, you're going to lose your print positioning. I'm not trying to say that's a bad printer overall. I'm just saying that's one change that he made that I don't feel was a very smart one. But yeah, I mean, the whole concept of making it, so other people can add on to it is definitely good. Although I will say the drawback to that is it does seem like there tends to be a lot of stuff that gets pushed out that is somewhat buggy that didn't get tested as much as it should have. But that's more people QC pushing stuff before it was ready issue than I think the actual people working on the software side. But that's just my take on it. What's yours?
Are the problems with the units that the people are building at home, or are they with the ones that are pre-built?
I'm just talking firmware in general, causing issues with like the filament sensor overheating or the bed probes not picking up the bed, things like that.
Oh, wow. I didn't hear. I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to it, to be honest with you.
It's kind of hit and miss, but there are definitely, bugs happen. So I'm not saying that, oh, it's just because it's this machine. I mean, bugs happen to every machine on the market. I mean, even my Ultimakers had the occasional bad hair day before. But at the same time, the one, I guess that I'd say the drawback to open source is the fact that so many people are working on things that I guess in a way they almost get distracted. And instead of everybody working on fixing that one major problem, somebody like, a good third of the people are running ahead to, oh, let's optimize the heat up time of the hot end before they got the bed leveling to work. Well, if you can't get the bed leveling to work, then heating up the hot end faster is not going to do squat because you haven't fixed the first problem. So sometimes I feel like because there's no real hierarchy of here's what we're going to get done, problems can get kind of overlooked and things like that. I'm just hypothetically speaking here, but I'm also just speaking off the fact that there's always going to be some risk when you're using the latest version of a software, because you'll hear a lot of people are like, yeah, I ran the latest Kira blankety blank and it wasn't very stable, so I had to go back to this one. And then they come out with another one that kind of fixes it, but it's almost like this leapfrog thing. One problem gets solved, but then another one gets created, and nothing really ever gets fully solved per se. You kind of, everybody just wants to keep moving forwards without fixing the previous problems. So they kind of make a patch to fix it, but it didn't really fix it. They just stuck duct tape on in the hole in the boat, but they didn't really take it out of the water and do a proper repair job that's permanent.
Well, with Kira, what they're doing is they're adding a lot more features to their programming, on the order of Simplify 3D. I mean, they're adding some really advanced features to it. But with that said, they're gearing it more toward the Ultimaker than they are toward the other machines that use their software. So if there's glitches that come up on other machines, it's like, oh well.
Yeah, because Kira was originally made for the Ultimaker, and then there's plugins for the Moai. Lulzbot uses it. So you do have to remember, this software was purpose-built for a machine, but it was given the ability to be used cross-platform. So that's just something you got to keep in mind. I mean, it's like I had to build a custom profile in Simplify 3D for the Thingomatic. I had to make my own start and stop code that I found online, set up for the right styles, things like that. But yeah, that is a good example though of, almost like too many cooks and not enough people working behind the scenes.
I think their best software for third-party machines was the 15.1 to 15.4. Those were the best so far that I found, worked the greatest with third-party machines. After that, they still work with third-party machines, but not to the level that the 15.4 did. To me, that was probably their best third-party software that they had.
And in my case, I just use Simplify 3D, honestly. but
I'm too cheap for that.
Well, then again, in my case, I bought it a long time ago, back when I was cranking out 3D Hubs orders left and right and up, down, and center, and oh my gosh, that's like what I was doing.
Yeah, and if you're making money at it, then yeah, it's definitely worth it. But if you're doing it just as a hobby or doing it for YouTube, it's kind of hard to justify that $150.
In my case, in like 2 or 3 orders, I'd paid it off, and the fact that I could do custom supports and the prints were very support intensive, it was definitely an advantage. So I was glad that I got it. But yeah, in my case, it was justifiable. But I can understand $150 for software. I mean, shoot, you can buy a really cheap machine off AliExpress or the parts to build one, or a boatload of filament or filming supplies, or that's a lot of stuff.
That's a 3D printer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. So you definitely you need to keep that in mind. But then again, I was shooting more for the professional level, if you will. Not that you couldn't do stuff with Kira, it's just I was feeling the limitations of it. And after a friend of mine sent me a file that he had sliced in Simplify 3D, I was sold. I'm like, I need this.
Yeah, and that's Simplify 3D is a prime example of whenever a company just does it right. It's not open source at all, but at the same time, it just works.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there have been glitches and there have been bugs. But then again, it was usually people who were setting up something for a machine through a custom profile that was causing some of the problems. Instead of just picking a pre-existing machine profile and modifying the settings, they were literally trying to start from scratch, or they were actually having an issue with their actual computer, just not period talking to the machine over USB or something like that. So it was a little bit more of a hardware issue than it was a software issue. But there have been bugs in it, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't anything terrible.
Right. I was looking on the YouTube page to see how many people are watching, to see there's 9 people watching. That's cool.
That's cool. It's something.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's only 11:15 and we're still waiting for Daniel Niore to cruise in here like, oh, hey guys, I got my morning cup of coffee. So, you know, starting off my day with the Calvin and Jimmy show.
He's reaching over right now, hitting the snooze button on that alarm clock.
So
actually, you know how you hit snooze on the alarm clock? He just rolls over and he just looks at it and gives it that. That thing just stops. It's like, okay.
So Rover is asking, is Simplify 3D an actual program you install or web-based? It's an actual program you install, although the slightly annoying part is it uses an internet connection to verify your license through it. So that is a little bit of an issue if you're trying to print things, because sometimes it'll allow you to log in without an internet connection and sometimes it won't. So that's something you do have to keep in mind with it, is if you're printing in the field and you don't have an internet connection, it can be very problematic in that department. But I would assume if you kept it open on your computer and then, you know, you put it into sleep mode and you brought it to where you're at and you turned it back on, it should be fine. But Jeff's Nerd Build says it's 150 USD, but it's got a lot of features. The amount of features that Simplify 3D has is just absolutely nuts. For the uninitiated, you can get yourself into so much trouble in Simplify 3D tweaking things that you probably shouldn't be. But for those who really know what they are doing, it is like any tuner's dream in that software. I do have to admit,
Cura 3.1 yet?
I haven't even touched Cura and I don't know when.
When you get a chance, download it. Take a look at it. Okay. It's an insane amount of settings now.
Okay, I take that back. I do actually have the Cura 2 point whatever I think it is for the Moai on my laptop from when we were slicing parts for Perdix's Moai, but even then, there's still a lot of settings that you can get yourself in trouble with. It's almost terrifying.
Looks like Danielle's out. Have a good one.
Have a good one. I will slowly be working on the paddleboard eventually.
I can't wait to see you guys try that.
I am dying to try that thing out. At first I was like, I wonder if I'll be able to get this thing done in time. Then I got thinking to it. I'm like, well, I have, you know, only one class on Mondays and one class on Wednesdays from about 12 to 3. So I got a lot of time before and afterwards, and Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are effectively free. I'm like, gee, if I, you know, just put some fiberglass on a pontoon or sand it a little bit, there's a very good chance I can get it done. I think it's March is when my spring break is, something like that. So I'm not going to rush building the thing, but now that I think about it, I'm like, I think I actually stand a very good chance of having that thing done to bring it down to Southern California to try it out, which is going to be awesome. And yes, Rover, it is a catamaran. I decided that I wanted to go, I was going to sacrifice a little bit of maneuverability for hopefully a massive increase in stability, because I want to be able to take this thing out into the calm ocean in open water. I don't want to just be stuck using the thing on a lake or just be stuck using the thing inside of a harbor. I want to have the ability to use it a lot of different places, hopefully. So that was kind of the goal in a way.
So how are you going to get out into the open water?
The plan, if we're at a beach, is what we're probably going to do is just, I'm going to make some mounting points that are really strong for a rope. And the idea is we'll kind of just manually tow it out past the waves, go out at low tide, you know, kind of just like push the thing out like a surfboard ahead of you, have it ride over the waves, hopefully. And then once it gets past that, we'll be good. Or if we're in like a little harbor area, and we can kind of paddle out and paddle back in. But that's kind of the plan.
Cool.
Yeah.
Find your riptide and just ride it out.
Oh gosh, no. I'm dead serious though. When we go to do the filming, I might go to a sporting supply store and see how expensive flares are. Just in case something goes wrong and we do get pulled out of ways, we have some way of signaling in the event of an emergency. We have something, and I'm dead serious when I say that. When we're initially going to test the thing, we're probably going to take it to a nice calm harbor, probably Ventura Harbor, try it out there. But if we're going to do any kind of like actual like going and taking it out into the water sort of things, definitely going to have some kind of safety equipment on board in terms of, you know, should something go wrong and we have to get rescued, God forbid that happens, we have some way of signaling for help. But that's kind of my thought process on it. But the whole design is very simple. It's 4 pontoons and a board in the middle. And what I've ultimately decided I'm going to do is, for the pontoons, they're about 12 inches tall, I'm going to run at least 2 or 3 rods down the full height of the pontoon. Then I'm going to run probably a 1/2 inch bolt or a threaded rod. I can't decide which one yet. It's going to run the whole length, and inside it's going to be a tube that's a tight tolerance fit to that bolt. Then on the underside is going to be a plate that joins the two together. So effectively, the 2 pontoons are sandwiched together like this, and all that is, you know, force-wise that's being applied to the pontoons themselves is just the rods compressing it, and then any force like this, there's no actual screwing into the pontoons themselves. And then by having that really long rod in there, hopefully it'll spread out any load. And I'm probably going to build, 3D print or machine a brace that gets epoxied in there to really help spread the load out as well. The whole idea is spread the load so nothing breaks.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Whoever's saying use PVC and PCV tubing. I think you meant PVC.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be using as much as possible plastic or non-metallic materials on this, as I'm going to need to probably use special 3/16 stainless threaded rods and or hardware on this, because salt water is extremely corrosive, and if I were to use regular hardware, it would probably rust itself to non-usability in a very short order. So I'm going to have to use special marine grade stuff to make sure that things don't mess themselves up. But I'm actually not sure if PVC tubing is going to be ideal. I'm actually debating 3D printing the tubes that go inside as 2 pieces, because they're going to get epoxied in there. Just glue them together as 1 piece, and then when I 3D print it, actually design it with little bit like, oh, do I have it over here? No, I don't. But a little bit like the, oh wait, I do actually. Perfect. Design it so it actually has little ribs on the sides. So that way when you put epoxy in there, it actually has somewhere to kind of store in, or Gorilla Glue or whatever I end up using. So that way there's more in there to help physically hold it in place, if you will. Because I'm trying to make this as strong as I can.
Christopher is asking, do you think that Simplify 3D will get left behind over time with only doing feature updates once a year versus the open slicers adding new things almost every couple months?
That's a really hard one. It's a tortoise versus the hare race. Honestly, I think it's going to be kind of, unless Simplify 3D just totally tanks, I think it's going to be one's going to come ahead, the other's going to come ahead, the other's going to come ahead, the other's going to come ahead. You also have to remember, I kind of feel like we're hitting the upper limits of what 3D printing can do just in general, with filament-based machines, with resin-based machines, both in the hobby and the professional sector. There are new advances, but they're not anything that is so groundbreakingly amazing that I think it makes a giant difference, if you know what I mean. So I think we're going to kind of hit a point where it's just going to kind of stagnate, if you will. It's just going to hit its eventual end run. It's going to get as good as it's going to get, and there might be minor changes that are made, but it's not like there's going to be whole new features coming out. So I think it's just going to be a back and forth unless one literally just completely drops out of the race. That's my take. What's your
FDM printing is kind of going the way of the toaster. You know, now you can go anywhere. You can buy a toaster for $7.
No, I mean, it's true. It's like my mom and I had to go to Home Depot to get a mini fridge and a microwave. And I mean, it's like my mom was telling me when we were driving them back home, she was telling me about how when she was a kid, her dad bought a microwave that was probably about like, well, bigger than my hands can show on camera, like some massive thing that probably cost hundreds of dollars back in like the 60s or 70s, which would be like thousands of dollars in today's money. And it was cool and it worked, but it wasn't like today where you can go and spend 50, 60 bucks for a cheap microwave that can pretty much cook you Thanksgiving dinner based off the little push button menus, and you watch, you know, some little how-to video. You know, they didn't have those features back in the day. So yes, microwaves have come a long ways for an example, but really at the end of the day, they just heat up your food and cook stuff, and that's it. So the features may have changed a little bit, but it's not like there's anything groundbreaking that's made it like so much more amazing, if you know what I mean.
I remember my mom and dad, they went up to Sears up here when they had just opened the store that I work at now. They went up there and they bought a microwave, as a Kenmore microwave. It was, you know, like you said, it was big, huge thing. And it had the dial, so you'd turn it, and then whenever it come to the point where it's done, it'd go bing, so you knew your food was done. And I want to say they spent nearly $400 for the thing. And that was
Rover's saying back in the 70s they were $500 to $700.
I believe it, because I want to say they spent about $400 on it. And now you can go and buy a microwave with the same capacity for what, $99?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost terrifying how cheap it's become.
Yeah, you could you can buy a 0.9 cubic foot microwave for $39.
No guarantee the thing's going to last 5 years, but for $39, if it gets you through dorm life, that's great.
What honestly anymore? What does last 5 years?
Me, I last 5 years.
Yeah, but you weren't made today.
Yeah, I know. I was made over 26 years ago.
As long as you stay away from those pods.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, PSA here. How stupid do you have to be to think that eating laundry detergent is a good idea? I'm sorry. You're stupid. I don't care if that's non-PC. That's not nice to say. No, that's just... No, you're not 3 years old. Act your age.
Rover is saying pods. He goes, oh. Yeah. Yeah, I can't believe. Oh my! And then to think that they actually go and they put a PSA out saying humans don't eat these. What? That's almost as stupid as the other bill.
my late guinea pig, who kind of thought a lot of different things were edible that aren't, even she would have been smart enough to know, yeah, don't eat the Tide Pods. And
I mean, I understand children, you have to keep an eye on them and make sure they don't put something like that in their mouth. But adults, my God, come on.
I know. Kids don't know any better. That's why I was saying, you know, you're not 3. I understand kids are curious and they stick things in their mouth. That's how they learn about things. It's part of the learning process. So you can't fault them. But at the same time, if you're, you know, in your early teens, early 20s, you're just plain stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But random crappy PSA over.
Darwinism at its finest.
It's the world showing that even though we can send men to the moon and everything like that, every generation has its just complete bonehead moments.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Letting out the defective genes in the pool. Honestly.
Like in the olden days when you went into a mine and mine accident happened and bye-bye, or, you know, wild ant or bear came by and ate you. Nowadays it's the Tide Pods, you know. Yes, Nancy, you have to now also secure your laundry detergent because children are so stupid now. They probably cooked all their brain cells out with, you know, cold medicine and things like that. So now they have so little common sense that you now have to also lock up the laundry detergent. Stupid.
Well, just a few years ago, remember it was antifreeze?
Well, that's okay. In antifreeze defense, it's because
Oh God! Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
it's because until they put a bitterant into it, ethylene glycol actually tastes sweet. So that's the reason why a lot of people and animals were getting killed by it intentionally or unintentionally, is because it actually tasted good. It tasted sweet until there were a lot of murders because people were using ethylene glycol. Then the antifreeze manufacturers actually put a bitterant into it, so you don't want to eat it now, which is good for everybody, including animals.
Don't tell me you tasted
You
it.
shouldn't be drinking antifreeze in the first place.
What's that?
Then again, you just should not be drinking antifreeze in the first place.
No, and
I'm sure
it's safe to say you shouldn't be drinking motor oil either.
Oh man, this stream is now going to crap at 11:30. Now hearing that magic conversation.
Well, at least we won an hour before it went to this point.
Well, everybody got to watch me exporting the video for like 5 minutes while I was like going, please export.
Mountain Dew's good for you. That's good.
Yeah, Mountain Dew's great for you.
Although it does look like antifreeze. Of course, it looks like something else too.
Oh gosh, no.
What is it? Is it Dr. Pepper that has glycol in it?
I'm not sure. Actually, there's versions of glycol that are actually safe. There's certain subversions of things that are actually toxic, believe it or not. Kind of like, believe it or not, in your body is acetone in very small amounts. So,
well, Phil, you know the human body now has Teflon in it.
Yeah, I love me some Teflon in my body.
Up until what was it, 1970s? Teflon was not in the human makeup whatsoever. Now it's considered almost like a mineral or whatever in our bloodstreams because there's so much Teflon in our everyday lives.
Yeah, or this is definitely more your era than mine, but PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls that were in oils and things like that to make them flame retardant and inside fabrics and things like that. Those are now like still common because they're they're a POP, a persistent organic pollutant. There's another good example.
Yeah. I think we're starting to get the Roundup in us now.
Oh boy! Next stream, we're gonna get my environmental science teacher in here, and she's gonna tell you guys all about how we're gonna die in 5 years. It's great.
Yeah. We always hear that from people. We're not gonna make it another 5 years. Yeah, we will.
Are we gonna be all the same? Probably not, but we're also not gonna hopefully all die. So whatever.
We'll probably grow that third eye eventually.
That explains those strange headaches late at night.
I see Jeffrey made it. How you doing?
So what do you think of this, Jimmy? It's my little mini tripod that I've kind of turned into like a little mini Steadicam that you can then set down on stuff.
That's cool. Now, did you fill the base up with sand or something?
I did.
So have you thought about putting powdered lead in it?
I have actually thought about putting lead shot in there. It's just, it is so expensive.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. If steel shot or lead shot was not as expensive, I mean, even steel shot would work way better. I'd totally do that, but just because it is so expensive, I got like a little baggie of it for like $10 off eBay. It was crazy. So
you could probably get it cheaper. Was it some kind of an oxide? I forget what it is. It's an iron oxide, not iron oxide, but something like that. It's like a steel slag that they sell at Tractor Supply for blasting. Might try to get that because I want to say the bag of that's like $7 for like 25 pounds.
Bummer is there's no Tractor Supplies near me, but the next time I'm in your neck of the woods, I'll have to hit them up.
I know there's one in Gilroy, but I don't know if there's one in San Jose or not.
I would highly doubt that there's one in San Jose, but I think there'd be one in Gilroy for sure.
You know what? They probably have it at Harbor Freight.
Problem is I have to go to the East Bay to go to Harbor Freight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Dude, my life sucks out here sometimes. It's like growing up, Harbor Freight was like 20 minutes away. Or it was like 5 minutes from my parents' church. So it was like every Sunday we went to Harbor Freight practically. Now to live out here, it's like if I want to go to Harbor Freight, I got to go down to like the Hayward area. And then I got to go spend like $6 on a bridge toll, or go spend like probably close to like $6 or $8 in gas. And it's,
Are you going to be on San Jose on Saturday, right?
I'm going to be in South San Jose on Saturday till probably about 4 or 5.
Do you know where Oak Ridge Mall is?
I can find it.
It's right across the street. I'm trying to remember the name of it, what the street is. But right across the street from the mall, they have a Harbor Freight there now.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, because for what I'm doing, I don't need a whole lot. I mean, quite honestly, I'd need maybe, when I say a gallon, I'm talking like, a milk jug size container of something that's dense. But I will actually look and see how much getting steel shot costs, because then I could, or stainless steel shot or something like that, just because I could maybe even use it in my tumbler as well, because I want something that's dense. But if I have to, I'll use my lead shot. But I got it from all train projects, so we'll see. But I also wanted to use sand because I need to get a scale so I can show people the weight difference between none, sand, steel, lead, or whatever I end up using, just for the purposes of the video, because I am curious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I will say it definitely adds some weight, and I just need to add some feet of it. I'm going to see if either I'm going to 3D print the feet. I'm going to see if somebody who can print flexibles can print the feet for me, because trying to print flexibles over here is kind of dodgy at best. And I do want to make the feet from like Ninja Flex or Filaflex or something really soft and squishy. So that way, if you do set it on a surface, it'll be more likely to catch it, especially if it's something a little jagged like a rock or something like that.
Get a little can of Plasti Dip and just dip them.
Yeah, but that's not the same. The thing is, I'm trying to make this project as like hardware store friendly-ish as possible, but that is a thought. I mean,
I'm trying to go open source on us here.
Sorry. Oh my gosh. Oh, Jimmy, I'm triggered. Oh, I need to draw my little happy corner. I need to draw my open source coloring book so I feel better.
Oh, God.
But I'm trying. But the thing that you got to remember is, except for something like the paddle board, which I really don't expect a lot of people to be trying to build in their garage, little projects like this, I try whenever I can and make them as, when I say anybody friendly as possible, meaning like anybody could cruise to the store and pick up the stuff for it. I mean, you can 3D print the frame, you can buy the set screw at the store, and you just glue the lid on and you're done.
Yeah.
I've just designed up the feet, which you could totally print in hard plastic if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. But I've tried to make the thing so it's like I got the basic model design, which is just the little tripod. Then I got the fancier one, which has got the feet, and then I'm going to add a couple of other add-ons to that file, probably include a taller handle that's maybe to about there. So if you wanted to use the thing as like a little mini Steadicam and then set it down, you have that file in there as well. I just haven't had time to work on it. But the whole point is I try and make things as easy as possible, so you don't have to go to McMaster and buy a pack of 25 brass inserts or buy 100 pack of O-rings or something like that. I'm trying to make it as easy as I can. But that's kind of my mindset, is I feel like I have access to so much equipment that other people do not have access to, that I'd almost be doing people a disservice if I made things that required a ton of, really difficult or practically impossible to get things. That's just my attitude on it.
Yeah. I finally got my I'm going to be working on this TiVo probably starting tomorrow. Got a couple things I'm going to do. I finally got one of these what do you call it? Oh, what's it called for the heated bed?
MOSFETs? Yeah.
Got one of those. And then I've got my 2-pack of blowers.
Sweet.
Pretty low profile too, so I got a start working on getting a cooler set up for that too.
I can see this thing if you set it up with both of those for cooling the print. As long as you can keep the hot end from going into thermal freak out mode because it's blowing so much heat, of which you might want to wrap a little bit of Teflon tape around the heater block. It really helps.
Yeah.
I think you could probably do some just insane bridging on that thing. You should do like one of those Christmas tree things where it just like prints out into air. It'd probably print like perfectly flat or something like that, or with like almost no dip because it's just instantly frozen in space.
You know what I've got? I got some of those, you know, that it's the yellow, it's the cotton pieces that go over a heater block. I've got that. I've got a while back on Wish, I bought like, I don't know, a bag of like 10 of them for like $1. And it's got like the yellow on one side and it's cotton on the other. I got that. And I've got a roll of, oh, it's sitting around here at the moment, but I got a roll of that Kapton tape. So I could definitely create some kind of insulator around that heater block.
Yeah, definitely. I would do that. That's something that I need to work on with my Ultimaker is somewhere. I'm going to find it. I think I still have a sheet of 32 inch Teflon. And what I'm going to do on the underside of my heater block, there's the heat block, there's a heat break, and then there's the heatsink assembly. So what I'm thinking of doing is actually making a little Teflon insulator sheet that stops radiant heat from the heat block getting transmitted up to the heatsink, especially if I'm going to be doing a dual nozzle design. I want to try and make sure that the heat stays inside each of the heater cores, not gets transmitted up to there. And then I might also wrap some Teflon around each Olsen block as well. So that way it can't really transmit its heat necessarily to its brother. So everything kind of becomes like its own little happy enclosed ecosystem, if you will.
Are you ignoring Jeffrey in chat?
No.
You're not acknowledging chat here. How come?
Because like
I just refreshed my chat. My chat froze up.
Yeah, the chat's been going really slow. Rover, I think Chris over at Practical Printing did a video on making your own silicone mold for hot ends, I believe. I've thought about doing it, but I never really saw the need for it at this point, so I haven't done it. So that's me. I'm lazy.
Now we got to talk about getting your hair cut. Come on, dude.
Oh, okay, I am going to get, I know for sure on spring break when I go down, I'm going to see a hairdresser that I know and get a haircut. That is for sure.
A hairdresser, really?
Yes. Somebody that I know. Not some hack named Jimmy who goes, "Burr, burr," with, you know, a pair of trimmers over his microphone that he bought off wish.com.
My hairdresser is called whoever's on duty at Great Clips. They got this thing called an app. All you gotta do is click on it, and then you check in. Oh, they're closed right now. Otherwise, if they weren't closed, I just click on there, and then I can check in, and then it says, okay, there's a 30-minute wait, so I got 30 minutes before I have to be there. And as soon as I walk in the door, it's like, hi, I'm Jimmy, and they're like, okay, come on back.
Oh gosh, you and your little techno apps. Oh, I'm just gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
$17 later.
No, Jimmy is awesome, but he doesn't have the awesome hair that I do, which is why I'm very protective of it. You know,
the awesome hair that we're gonna take a flat iron to that thing.
Oh man, my hair just like goes like halfway down to here, and we're like, oh wow, that is long after all.
He was telling me, I'm going after the mad scientist look. I'm like, okay, that look went away a long time ago, so let's get that thing cut.
I'm like, I'm gonna bring it back. Here's where I've been going wrong on the channel. I need to wear sunglasses the whole time I'm doing a video. Then I also need to wear like a white lab coat. I need to wear black nitrile gloves so I look like extra creepy on camera.
What you need is a random spark.
You mean those random road flares that just magically light Christmas trees on fire for the news channel?
A random spark in that hair will take care of it.
Hey, I was playing with my oxytorch the other day and I didn't cook my hair. Knock on wood. So Jeff is saying, you mean the fuzzy cat you have on your head with you? Yeah, that's not a cat on my head, dude. That's hair.
And Nancy said, Calvin, you've achieved the look. Move on.
Now I've got to keep perpetuating the look until it comes back into style. And then I can be all like, yeah, I brought the mad scientist back. Yeah, deal with it.
But you're not doing the mad scientist look. What's that guy's name that has the radio talk show? He's like a DJ. What's his name?
I don't even know.
Come on, guys, help me out. What's that guy's name that wears like a trench coat or whatever? And what is his name? He was on like America's Got Talent there for a while. I almost said it.
I don't even know. But Jeff said, better knock on wood. I see haircut with fire in your future. I've actually lit my hair on fire once a little
Howard
bit.
Stern, that's the name. Doesn't he look like an anorexic Howard Stern?
So today on the I'm Not Anorexic Calvin show, thanks Jimmy, roast, burn, burn.
He's not going to talk to me for the next week.
Remember you kept saying that after the Vegas trip when we still did the Tuesday night stream?
Yeah, I was surprised that you were still talking to me.
We were cooped up in the car. I know what happens when you're cooped up in a car for a long time. It gets ugly even when it's just you. Believe me, I've done many a long drive where partway down you're just like, what am I doing with my life right now? This is not fun.
It's like, what have I done? What am I doing? Oh my God. Why?
Going there, it didn't really hit us until we where was it that had the place with that cheesy alien tank jerky place?
Oh, that was a Baker.
It wasn't until we hit Baker that it really hit me just how long the drive was and still how much longer we had to go to get to Jeff's house. And it was that point that it really was starting to sink in, like, is this what I really signed up for? Because on paper, it seems so fast. I knew it was going to be a long drive, so don't get me wrong. I didn't have any ideas that we were going to get there in 4 hours. Because when I saw the distance was over 500 miles, I'm like, okay, knowing how long it takes for me to go about 375 to get to my parents' house, that takes a while. That takes me a good 6-7 hours. But then doing that one, which was over 500, and then you threw traffic in the mix, it was when we hit there that it hit me, oh yeah, we're going to have to drive this all tomorrow.
I got to show you guys what this is doing right now. And it better not do this. Come on. Take a picture. There we go. So this is what my computer is trying to do right now. It's all trying to do a Windows update. Remind me later. I'm still being punished over the last update I did on my mom's computer we use for billing. The thing crashed, and it was because it's an AMD processor, and they had that AMD unfriendly update that came out. And so it happened. So I went ahead and I did a rollback where I went and I found a restore point, took it back to the restore point, worked perfectly fine. It did download the stupid update again. And it did the update a second time. When it didn't have it doesn't have a restore point any longer. And now I'm stuck. So I think what I'm going to do, so I don't have to format the hard drive, because I even tried rolling, where you do like where it takes a lot of the programming out of it, but keeps your files. I tried resetting it that way. It won't stay on long enough to do it. It locks up after so long. So I think what we're going to do is probably pop another hard drive into it, do a clean install on the Windows 10, and then hopefully all the information is still on the hard drive and I can just save it that way.
That seriously is a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Fun stuff. Well, do we want to start winding the stream down now?
Yeah, I think we might as well.
Pushing 12 midnight, and I've had a long day dealing with school stuff, machining stuff, then the whole YouTube crisis, that whole thing still setting in. It's been a long day.
I could imagine. Man, oh man.
I mean, I was up at 7 this morning because my class didn't start till 9:30, but I like getting to school early just in case for whatever reason there's like no class, like you're the very first class of the day. I'm always like, I want to get there early just so that way, you can get the good seats. And I got the seats that I wanted, but obviously you never know. So I'm always like racing in there. You don't know what parking's going to be like or if you're going to have any problems. So, yeah.
Jeffrey is saying Windows is on the motherboard, not the hard drive. My computer doesn't have an M.2, so it's not on the motherboard. It is on the hard drive.
All over my head.
Well, you want to go ahead and call it then?
I say we go ahead and call it. So, I guess in conclusion, guys, I know this sounds like a desperate plea, but if you feel like it, definitely go to your smaller YouTube channels, and definitely if you have a computer that's free, even if you just do it overnight, kill the audio, set it to play all. I think you can actually play videos in a loop. Just go to like their videos, select play all, set it to loop, and just let the videos play overnight or whatever. Try and do what you can to try and help the creators that you really like who are small, to earn the stupid minutes that turn into the stupid hours to appease YouTube, because we now have 30 days to magically take, in my case, less than 2,000 hours worth of content, worth of viewership, and try and some miracle method turn it into 4,000 hours plus, so that way we can maintain our monetization, or they completely just reset you to where you started at the beginning of the year and give you no other chance. So, it's still an ongoing thing, and I definitely think there's going to be some changes along the way, but definitely try and support the people that you enjoy that way, because there's a very good chance that a lot of people who rely on the ad money are just going to say, look, I just can't afford to keep doing this anymore, and they're going to drop out. So, don't want to sound all down and depressed, but definitely do what you can to try and support people that it's definitely becoming a much more cutthroat world out there with doing YouTube videos. So that's kind of like my little PSA to you guys at the end of the video. Do you want to add anything, Jimmy?
Do you have a playlist on your channel?
I should have a playlist on my channel. I think any channel that you go to, if you go to their videos, there should be an option to do play all.
Yeah, but I mean, do you actually have a playlist set up on your channel?
I have a couple. I don't necessarily have one dedicated just to make it with Calvin, but I will see if there's a way that I can add on to that. I kind of started and then I just kind of fell off the bandwagon on it. So I'll see if there's one that I can set up for that.
Create a playlist, get it set up on there. And then like what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my cell phones. I'm going to put it down to the lowest stream resolution. and have it play one of your playlists, and just have it where it just loops it.
Okay.
And that way it'll hopefully get you some, it will give you some airtime, but I don't, me by myself, it won't be enough to do it in 30 days, but I figure putting it at the lowest resolution, I can just let it just play.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. So yeah, I'll try and do something where I'll tweet it out going, if you guys want to try and help support and push me, and I will definitely try and update you guys if I notice a massive spike in the viewership. I'm going to try and, you know, keep on top of that. And if for whatever reason we don't hit it, it's not the end of the world, but it would be awesome if I did. But at the same time, if I don't, so what? I'll still have other ways that you guys can donate, like PayPal, the Etsy store that you can buy stuff from, things like that. But it's definitely going to be interesting what's going to happen in the near future. So fingers crossed. You know, I definitely though feel for the people who really rely on the ad revenue, who are still small and might be a short distance away from making the 4,000, but if you don't hit it, they just boot you out. So we'll see.
Well, the thing to remember is I don't think it resets. I think what's going to happen is it's just going to keep tabs, and once you hit the 4,000, then you'll qualify.
Yeah, we'll see, but I'm definitely hopeful. Oh, here's another thing I was going to say is if you have a YouTube account, definitely write to YouTube creators support and ask them why, in a polite manner, please, but ask them why they're not considering grandfathering in old accounts that were created well before this whole thing happened, who have, you know, good standing with YouTube, why they're not, you know, considering at least looking into carrying them over if they've, you know, if they're still meeting community guidelines. I think if a lot of people start voicing their opinion about that as well, it might change. I mean, look at people with Patreon. When they started complaining about stuff, Patreon actually backed down from their plan.
Yeah.
So I think also if a lot of people just write in, even if they're just, you know, saying, hey, why aren't you guys even if you don't have an account, you just, you know, write into them saying, hey, why don't you guys consider doing that? I think if there's enough community people making noise about it, you know, it's like a petition. It, you know, when you get enough signatures on something, people take notice. So that's another thing you can do, is just for the community as a whole, just, you know, be polite about it, please. But definitely, if you feel like it, just be like, hey, we understand you guys are going to do what you're going to do, but we really feel like here's a few minor things that you could do that could really help people who have been on the platform for a long time, but can't meet your unrealistic expectations because they just can't produce enough content.
Right.
You know, so that's kind of my take.
Cool, my friend. Let's call it.
All right. Sounds good. You guys have a great night. Thank you again to everybody who popped in and enjoyed this hot mess of a live stream. Next week, we'll be over at Jimmy's channel talking about, as usual, stuff and things to be determined probably 15 minutes before the stream starts.
We'll talk about how awesome Daniel Norrie is.
Hey, we had him as a guest star on the show once. That was awesome.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining. Have a good one, and I'll see you next week on my channel.
See you guys later.